Major production funding for Game Notes is provided by...
You have what it takes to begin your journey. Curiosity, ingenuity, intellect, determination. Through a vast portfolio of affordable and in-demand academic programs, hundreds of student-focused activities, and wraparound services, Southern University meets you where you are, giving you the tools and support that lead you to a successful career in the sciences or the arts. Begin with your goals anywhere. Finish stronger at Southern University at subr.edu.
Hargrove Engineers and Constructors is proud to support LPB since 1995. Hargrove has been employee-owned and relationship-driven. With 2,700 teammates around the world, Hargrove works as one team to go beyond expectations. With additional support from Lafayette Travel, the LSU Alumni Association, and the Cook Hotel and Conference Center at LSU, Louisiana Tech University, Natchitoches Regional Medical Center, Northwestern State University, Red Stick Sports, the U.S. Army Baton Rouge Recruiting Battalion, the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you.
And we welcome you to Post-Game Notes as we have officially put Week 1 in the books for college football. Along with my Super Bowl champ partner, Scott Shanley, I'm Victor Howell. It's great to have you with us here for Game Notes on LPB. Scott, a lot of action around the state. We knew one state team would lose because we had head-to-head competition. Overall, for our state schools, a very successful weekend and a lot of activity. You could just kind of feel the excitement. College football is back nationwide.
Yeah, everybody's been waiting all summer to get to this point. Kickoff of college football season really was a week ago, but for the state of Louisiana, it was this weekend. A lot of big games. Like you said, one in-state matchup, but there'll be more coming up soon that we'll get to discuss. But it was a great opening weekend of college football.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we have a lot to talk about here. In the next hours, we'll take you back to those 2 Thursday night games that kicked off this week for the state schools, and then everybody else kicking off their season on Saturday. We were recapping. So here's what's coming up on this edition of Post Game Notes. How about the Yeah, move over, Jimmy Johnson. John Summerall's got a little excitement because of what took place down at Yeoman Stadium on Saturday. Tulane kicking it off at 11 a.m. in fine fashion. We'll recap what the Greenway did. There is the in-state matchup. Scott's referencing Southeastern and Louisiana Tech. They met in Ruston for the first time since 2021. We will take you up to Ruston and show you the action there. And we will also talk about the matchup that we had with Southern and Mississippi Valley and Inabita out in the SWAC. All of that and much more still to come right here on our post-game notes. But we will start with a highlight game in the state and one of the highlight games throughout the country. Prime time, Saturday night over in Clemson, where the Clemson Tigers, ranked number 4 in the country, were hosting the LSU Tigers, preseason ranked number 9 in the country. You know, it wasn't all that long ago in Baton Rouge. People were complaining about the early schedule for LSU. They wanted to see tougher competition, quit those pay games, and go play the high-quality opponents. Well, since 2019, LSU has not won a season opener. They've played the quality opponents and haven't cracked the win column. 5 straight, including the first 3 under Brian Kelly, trying to turn that around Saturday night in Clemson. What a matchup this was. 2 teams heavily predicted to be into the playoff scenario and then some. And here come the Clemson Tigers down the hill, 80,000 strong. Brian Kelly and his Tigers waiting to take the field. Scott, this was a defensive game throughout, and early on, watch P.J. Woodland look at the speed up the middle as he gets to Klubnik for the sack.
If you're an LSU Tiger fan, you got to be excited about what you saw, both in the secondary but up front. The front 7 of this LSU Tiger defense is much improved over last year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the pressure and the changes on the defensive end in just a moment. Garrett Nussmeier in at quarterback for LSU. The quick pass to the outside bar. Sharp gets it, but here comes the Clemson defense. They force the fumble. Ball's out. Ricardo Jones is going the other way. 24 yards on the return. The LSU defense would hold, so it sets up a 42-yard field goal by Nolan Hauser. Clemson has the early lead, 3-0 on LSU. Then Nussmeier, with LSU trying to drive inside the 35-yard line, takes a 12-yard sack, hurts the Tigers' field position, but it does set up this from 52. Damian Ramos, and it is easily through the uprights, and this game is tied at 3. It's 10-3 Clemson when Caden Durham powers his way into the end zone for LSU's first touchdown of the season. Caps a 9-play, 63-yard drive, and we're tied at 10. In the fourth, the Tigers use their size to the advantage. 6'7" Trey'Dez Green, just throw it up top to the big man. 11 plays, 73 yards, and LSU takes a 17-10 lead. Clemson has to get to the end zone. LSU has to make a play. Remember Brian Kelly last year, his frustration? Somebody has to step up. Well, they don't on this one. Clemson keeps the drive alive, under a minute and a half to go. They've got to get to the end zone. But on 4th and 4, remember 1 week ago, Scott, what did Brian Kelly say? You don't come back for another year if you don't expect to make an impact, and guess who does it? Number 7, Harold Perkins with the pressure. Klubnik has no shot at this.
He's a special player, and this is the type of impact he's going to have for this LSU defense. They missed him sorely last year.
Brian Kelly celebrating with the pressure as LSU gets the win, 17-10 on the road against Clemson. LSU's, look at time of possession, over 37 minutes. Clemson did not get a lot done at home. The defense holding Clemson to 31 rushing yards total. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Next up for LSU, it is the home opener in Death Valley, Baton Rouge, next Saturday night when Louisiana Tech comes to town, another in-state matchup that will kick off at 6:30. But before we look forward, let's look back. Comments from head coach Brian Kelly, Dabo Swinney on the big showdown in Clemson.
Look, this is a hard place to play. I mean, it's a top 5 team on the road, and our guys were down at half, and they don't lose when they're up at half. And our guys persevered, great character. Look, I could talk about a million things, but it's individuals, and these players refused to do anything else but find a way to win, and I'm so proud of them.
It was a heavyweight fight. I mean, listen, that was just simple as that, just a heavyweight fight as far as a football game, and just a couple plays. They made a couple more plays than we did, and we made a couple more critical errors than they did, and in games like that, that's usually the difference. But plenty of opportunities, and we missed our opportunities. I thought we got away from the run too early. We didn't run the ball effectively at all. You got to give LSU credit because they made a couple of those critical plays, and again, that's the difference in a game like this in the fourth quarter. So, congratulations to them.
Scott, it seemed like a big theme around the country in week 1. Defense is ahead of the offenses there. We certainly saw it last night between these two teams.
There's no question. I think in a lot of the big-time matchups, LSU, Clemson, look at Texas, Ohio State, a lot of the premier matchups in college football, the defenses were way ahead of the offense. I think part of that is there's a lot of transfer portal. It takes time for offensive players to catch up with their timing and their rhythm compared to defensive players. But I think this LSU defense, you have to be encouraged by what you saw. Obviously, when number 7's back on the field, it changes a lot. It tilts the field a little bit for you. But I kind of disagree with that. He said it was a heavyweight fight. Yes, but it almost felt at time heavyweight versus middleweight because I think LSU has by far the better players offensively and defensively compared to Clemson. If this team played 5 times, I think LSU would just get better every single time they played.
All right, since you talked about the defense, let's talk about what they did, and specifically in the second half. You heard Dabo Swinney say we had trouble. He said we got away from the run too soon. Well, you might have gotten away from the run because you couldn't do anything on the ground. I mean, what LSU's defense was doing, especially in the second half against Clemson, you have to recognize the talent, to Scott's point, about what they were able to do. Scott, in the second half, Clemson ran for less than 30 yards. They ran, or less than 30 yards in the game, less than 12 yards in the second half. Are you ready for this? 0 rushing yards in the fourth quarter. They played 15 minutes. They didn't have a run.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think if you're a head coach, you're Dabo, every coach goes into a game and wants to run the football because it says you're controlling the line of scrimmage. You're able to move another man against his will. Well, you weren't able to do that against LSU. When LSU, 32 total yards rushing in a game and winning the time of possession 37 minutes of 23, you're going to win a lot of football games. It's amazing this game was as close as it was with those type of stats. I think the LSU run defense being much improved gives us a team a chance to talk about the SEC championship and college football playoff, especially when you look at what Alabama looked like yesterday and Texas looked like yesterday. This LSU defense is going to give people problems.
And look at the number of white jerseys. This is the play on 4th and 4 at the end of the game. I want you to watch the replay. Look at the real estate that Harold Perkins covers from the left side of the screen to the right, and then look at how many white jerseys are on the back right of your corner. Here he comes, Scott, across the middle. Who's he throwing to? There's 7 white jerseys there and 1 orange jersey.
Yeah, there's no doubt that LSU has the better quarterback in his quarterback matchup. Clay Klubnik did not look very good, but Nussmeier also didn't have guys like Harold Perkins rushing his face. That guy's a special player. You pair him up with Whit Weeks, much like this week, the talk of the NFL is Micah Parsons going to pair up with Rashawn Gary and the Green Bay Packers with those 2 edge rushers. I feel like LSU has that with Weeks at linebacker and Harold Perkins. These guys cover a lot of real estate in a hurry.
Yeah, when you heard Dabo Swinney saying they got away from the run, you saw the pressure that they were putting on Klubnik, but then again, when you try to run, there was nowhere to go. I take you back to the preview show we did 1 week ago when we heard from Brian Kelly. What did he say? I think my defensive coordinator is really, really good. We had to give him more tools in the toolbox, right? Then they went out and got the #1 recruiting class in the portal, and a lot of those guys were on the defensive side. But, boy, Clemson had a couple of big splash plays here and there, but they were so few and far between. Yeah. It was a grind for them for what that LSU defense, to your point, much different looking defense than what we saw a year ago.
Yeah, I think you saw the talent of LSU, like I said, comparing heavyweight to middleweight. And it's not taking a shot at Clemson. I think Clemson's a really good football team. I don't think they have the type of players that LSU does. What I think happened in this game was LSU went into a hostile environment, a hard place to play in college football, and you have to give this LSU team a lot of credit. Going on the road against a good opponent, haven't won in a number of years, 5 years like we said,
Yep.
Being down at halftime and not letting that affect you, overcoming that adversity early on in a season can really propel you throughout the year.
Before we go to some final stats here, let me ask you something about that point, because I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on these matchups? Now, I love that it's the home and home. Mm-hmm. Remember, for years, Alabama was always going to Atlanta for a big game. LSU went to Vegas, went to New Orleans, went to Orlando. I love the home and home with the big matchups early. Clemson's going to get theirs. They're coming to Baton Rouge, right? They'll be back to Baton Rouge next year, so you'll see that home and home. But for the fans and the NIL and the ticket prices now these days and trying to get everything you can, I love that you're going to campuses for big-time matchups. Texas went to Ohio State. They'll be okay. They lost. LSU went to Clemson. Clemson will probably be okay in the ACC. Want to get your thoughts on what you think about these early season matchups in a true road game.
Yeah, I understand why college football and even the NFL, they want to do some of these neutral site games and show off these new stadiums in Vegas and other places. But there is nothing like going and seeing the opponent's place. That you'd have no other reason to go to Clemson to see a football game if you're an LSU fan. Now it give you every reason to go there, just like Clemson. They would much rather play a neutral site game next year, go to Atlanta and play LSU. But deep down, they're excited they get to come to Baton Rouge and see Death Valley.
Yeah, well, you heard Brian Kelly say he's proud of his team being on the road, hostile environment, get the win. Here are the final numbers to show you just what LSU was able to do in this matchup here with Clemson. 354 total yards, again, for Clemson. 31 rushing yards, not in a quarter, not in a half. That's for the game. And they had 0 in the fourth quarter. For me, that's all I need to know, Scott. When I see that, and then you go bottom left, 37 minutes, it tells you Clemson had trouble controlling the ball. LSU did not.
Yeah, and then couple other things we need to talk about. LSU's defense, 3 of 13. Clemson was 3 of 13 on third down. You're not going to win many football games. You can't stay on the field. You're getting into long down yardage situations. And we can talk all day long about how good the LSU defense was. We also have to talk about Caden Durham. Caden Durham at running back for LSU, I think he's going to be one of the best running backs in the SEC. He's a special player. Him with Nussmeier gives them a chance and that defense to win a lot of games.
We had a state school close out the action last night in Clemson primetime, but how about the state school that kicked things off at 11 yesterday morning? A beautiful day down in New Orleans at Yeoman Stadium, where Tulane for the last few years has played Kansas State. Speaking of home and home, they were at Kansas State. Kansas State came to New Orleans. This year they went to the Big Ten. It was Northwestern making the trip down to New Orleans. Will they be able to handle the pressure, the heat, the humidity? They were going to try to wear them out. Well, let's go down to Yeoman, the beautiful campus off of Claiborne Avenue, and here comes the wave. And it didn't take very long. Early first quarter, 2 minutes in, Preston Stone back to pass, and he's picked off by Jaheim Johnson. He's going to take it 17 yards, dances his way along the right side to give the Green Wave good position inside the 40. First Tulane possession, Jake Retzlaff, who does get the start at quarterback. Great fake, hits Justin Reed back of the end zone for the touchdown. 7 plays, 52 yards, and the Wave are up 7-0. Second quarter now 13-3. More trouble for Stone. Under heavy pressure, just heaves it up. And look at Javian White with the interception. Again, it's the pressure, Scott, just a prayer.
Yeah, making a quarterback throw the ball before he wants to, getting him off his timing. That's how you get those interceptions defensively. Great play right there.
How about this? 2 plays later, the drop back from Retzlaff. Did you know he had these kind of wheels?
I did not know. I do now.
Oh, look at him go. 69 yards as he steps back and takes it to the house. And Tulane is in control early in this thing. It is 20-3. They would add a field goal in the second half. Northwestern would get nothing and like it. 23-3 is your final score as Tulane racks up 420 yards of total offense with 268 of those yards coming on the ground. Speaking of defense, let's talk about this in a moment. 5 forced turnovers, 3 sacks for the Wave. Next game, they will be at South Alabama for a 6 o'clock start. By the way, Northwestern, Tulane's head coach John Summerall, you need to put a little respect on this name.
Our guys really handled situational football well today for a game one. I talked a lot this week to them about most game ones aren't won, they're actually lost by some team maybe kind of giving it away. And what we didn't do is be ourselves today. We played clean football. You know, we wore the green helmets today for the 20th anniversary of Katrina. I'm going to say one thing. I'm not trying to take a shot, but we requested to wear white jerseys because that's what that team wore. It got denied by the other team. That's their prerogative. But when you show disrespect to the city of New Orleans, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to run into a team like this. They had a chip on their shoulder because I wanted them to wear the same exact uniform that team wore 20 years ago. Request got denied. We might have used that for a little bit of motivation to represent the city. So don't disrespect New Orleans ever.
Yeah. I mean, he's got me ready to run. I love that passion.
Yeah, there's a reason transfer portals are ending up in New Orleans to play at Tulane. This guy's the real deal.
Love seeing that passion. Yes, people were wondering why the helmet looked different, and then you heard the full story there. You have to request for the other team. LSU does it all the time. When Steve Spurrier was there, sometimes he would say, no, you're not going to wear white. Yeah. It is a thing for the visiting team. Northwestern said no, and yeah, you can imagine Tulane used it for inspiration. But besides, put that aside, and we know that worked for Tulane. They just looked so much more dominant than Northwestern from the get-go. They put that pressure on them, and Northwestern never could figure it out.
Yeah, and it was kind of shocking. We talked about in the previous year. Northwestern's one of those teams that, if you watch Big Ten football, they give the Ohio States and the Michigans and Nebraskas, Wisconsin, they give them fits because they play good at the line of scrimmage. They're a well-coached team. They're a smart football team. And I thought this would be a little bit closer game. I think what this game says to me, and should tell a lot of people nationally, is Tulane is not a Cinderella story. There's no longer there's the team that beat USC a couple of years. This is a true competitor, a true opponent that you have to be ready for at the line of scrimmage. And when you can control the line of scrimmage like Tulane's doing, playing good defense, running the football, that should open a lot of people's eyes that Tulane's in this national discussion for the college football playoff.
Started with Willie Fritz when he was there with the turnaround, beating USC in the Cotton Bowl. He leaves. John Sumrall comes in, and he's kept it rolling. And remember, in the preview show, we heard from him at the media conference days for the American Conference when he said, remember jokingly, I said I loved his approach because he was so funny. Well, we've got 2 returners on starters. On defense, we're in a much better position. We've got 3. Yeah. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek. But, boy, when you saw the pressure, 5 turnovers against Northwestern, even if they tried to get something going, they either got pressured, they got sacked, he was throwing it away. They did have 4 interceptions, 1 fumble, but in the end, it was the defense that really set that thing up for Tulane.
And you can see, I strongly believe that a team takes on the image of their head coach. And just hearing Coach Sumrall talk right there, you can see why this team plays with blue-collar football. They play at the line of scrimmage, defensively taking the football away. When you take the football away 5 times, I don't care who you're playing, you're going to have a chance to win a lot of football games. So if you continue to disrupt the football like that, take it away, give the ball back to your offense, and then offensively, I think what Tulane did yesterday, and we didn't expect Retzlaff to run that much, but what they're doing is they're taking what the defense gives them. If you're going to sit back and cover 2 and keep defensive backs back, we're going to run the football. And so I think Tulane is one of the best coached teams in the country, and they have the talent to go with that. That's dangerous.
You mentioned Retzlaff. Let's take a look because that's one of the things we should focus on. Remember, we told you 1 week ago it was really a 4-headed monster down in New Orleans trying to figure out who was going to play the starting role at quarterback. Well, look at his debut. 18 to 31 for passing. He had the 69-yard touchdown. You see the poise here rolling out to the right. Remember, he got to the Tulane campus late, Scott, because of the transfer portal and him leaving his previous school, getting to New Orleans. Here, he throws one on a rope down to the left side. Great yardage for Tulane. That would help them get down the field and lead to score. And then there's this one again. The drop back, survey the field, and once he gets to about the 40, look, he's gone. He's got defensive backs in the backfield, and he's outrunning them.
This play right here is really impressive. I think if you're a Tulane fan, you're watching this, knowing that your quarterback has wheels like that, who can keep a defense honest. Now defensively, you have to play 11 on 11. That's tough.
And then you go to the other side, like we've been talking about. 3 sacks, 4 interceptions, a forced fumble for Tulane's defense on the day. And you can see, look, jumping the passing route, the interception we saw earlier, the pressure on the quarterback. It's almost like he had his eyes closed and just tried to throw it up there for a prayer. This one, look, he's throwing it in the line because of the pressure. Loose ball, they knock it out. Tulane gets it. It was just a sea of green, if you will, a wave, if you will.
Yeah,
see what I'm going
I love it.
But again, I mean, look at the one-on-one coverage. Yeah. Just everybody being challenged, and nobody flinched. Whatever challenge they faced in the passing game or up front, they never flinched all day long.
Yeah, you're playing a Big Ten opponent, like I said. And I think when you watch this, Tulane has the better talent. You can see the front 7. They're swarming the quarterback. But in the back end, these plays made by the defensive backs, individual plays on the football, affecting the football, taking it away in the air, that's impressive.
Here are the final numbers as Tulane impressively on the offense puts up 420 yards of offense, just 237 for Northwestern. And again, 76 yards of rushing. You would think you'd want to lean on that rushing game. Tulane absolutely took it away. It's one thing, Scott, when you say 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers, like you mentioned. When you have 5 turnovers, you're pretty much done no matter what happens. I mean, you need a miracle and then some to pull that out.
As soon as I see that, I think of Sean Payton talking to us all the time with the Saints. He would show this stat all the time. When you win the turnover takeaway battle, if you're +2, you're going to win 80% of your games. You're +3, you're going to win 85%. You get +5, you're at probably 99.9. You need a lot to go wrong in a football game to be +5 at turnovers and lose a game. So that's an outstanding job.
And Tulane did it the right way with a very impressive win over Northwestern at home to start the season off with a win. Well, from New Orleans, we'll make our way over to the newly named Navarre Stadium on the campus of McNeese over in Lake Charles. Matt Viator back at the helm for the Cowboys, his second stint at McNeese as head coach, tied for all-time wins at the school. As we pick up the action first quarter, Louisiana Christian has already scored the first points of the game with a field goal, but that's when Bryce Strong takes it in. 7 yards out, McNeese is up by the score of 7-3. In the second quarter, Louisiana Christian, again, finding the end zone, 7 yards, beautiful fake. Bryce Perkins, the quarterback, keeps it there. They go for 2. They miss. It's 17-9, McNeese. Later in the second, look at the misdirection by the Cowboys. Trevante Citizen, 21 yards. It gets it into the end zone. 24-9. The Cowboys are on top. Just under 5 minutes to go in the second. And still in the second, Jake Strong passes to the left side to Jonathan Harris. 15 yards. 31-9 at this point for McNeese. As you would expect, once they got things going, the Cowboys were able to get the job done. 54-9, the Cowboys get the win. What a start for Jake Strong. 22 of 28 for 329 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. The Cowboys rush for over 300 yards. Congratulations to Matt Viator with that win. Becomes the all-time winningest coach for the Cowboys. Next week, they will travel an hour east down I-10 to Lafayette to face the Raging Cajuns at Louisiana. After this game, though, hear from the head coach in the win number 1 on the season.
He's got a really good understanding of the offense. I think he and Coach Bolfing have a great relationship, and I'll watch them in practice and watch how they speak with each other, and I've really been pleased with that whole thing. And it's a tough thing for me personally, because quarterbacks are my baby. I mean, that's what I've done, and for the last, well, not the last 3, but 3 years there, and 2 of the years for sure. I mean, that's all I did at UL. All day, every day, and I like the position, but I think it's better, in my opinion, when quarterbacks have their own position coach and it's not the head coach.
Here's a look at the numbers and just how impressive it was. A lot of records there. Total yards over 600, rushing yards over 300, all setting records for McNeese. And very balanced, Scott, coming out of the gates. 305 rushing, 359 passing. So they found it through the air. Great start by Jake Strong, but also what they were able to do on the ground.
Yeah, great quarterback play, but I think when you look at those stats, you look at the balance offensively. When you can go over 300 yards in both running and passing the football, you're going to win a lot of football games. But I think what it does, that's complementary football, because that helps your defense. It gives your defense a break. You're not just airing it out every play. So good complementary game plan by the McNeese Cowboys.
So the numbers on the screen will say one thing. The numbers on the final score also say something about this. But then again, when you look at the matchup, and this is by no means disrespect to Louisiana Christian, just a much bigger school for McNeese. Deeper, bigger. They were supposed to get that win, and they got the win. But I think if you look at the other side of it, on the focus for McNeese, remember, Matt Viator's back. Took him to the playoffs in 2015. You heard him say he's been spending time east, down the road. He's been at Louisiana. That's where we're going to go play next week. He's been consulting. He was there when Napier was there, before Napier went to Florida. And then Decimo came in. Then he decided to take a year off. So to get back there, start a new system. 1 week ago, or even on our show yesterday on Game Notes, what did he say? Don't ask about quarterback, no idea. Don't ask about running back, no idea. Well, Jake Strong comes out, has a tremendous game, and they scored a ton of touchdowns on the ground as well. For the Cowboys, though, isn't it more about let's see how we're doing with this new coach, who's an old coach, but a new system as we get ready to move forward?
Yeah, certainly, because he's back. He understands the identity that he wants his team to have. And anytime you go into a game, especially game 1, a lot of people say these coaches know who they're playing. I really don't think they do. You never know how guys are going to respond until they turn the lights on and they kick the football off. Some guys can practice better. Some guys can play better in games. But as you saw rolling, a lot of the teams throughout the country thought they were going to play multiple quarterbacks, and then they kind of settled in on one as the game went along. Same thing with the running back position. McNeese, they have a stable of running backs, and it's good to have a stable of running backs, because especially if you want to be that control the line of scrimmage, run the football down your throat type of team, which Coach Viator does, I think you need those stable of running backs.
Jake Strong, as we told you, throws for 329, but let's take a look at the running backs and focus on it, because he does have a stable. Remember what Scott told you, not only in our preview show, but even Saturday morning on Game Notes. Hey, when you see that cowboy on the helmet, you think of hard-nosed, grinding out, toughness. 305 yards, 4 different running backs had a rushing touchdown in this game. So everybody had their chance to prove something. And Scott, to their credit, they did. They had a chance to show Coach, hey, you might want to put me in at another time because I'm ready to go here. There's a lot of depth at that position for them.
You can never have too much depth at certain positions on the football team. Running back is certainly one of them. And these guys should be thankful. They're lucky they play for a coach who understands how to put them in position to succeed based on their talents and abilities. I think that's what's fun about coaching football is you get to find out what a guy's individual abilities are and try to put those guys in a position to make plays. And McNeese are going to do that. When you have that many good running backs, you got to find a way to get them on the field.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup next week when they go down the road to Louisiana, considering Viator had been there for a few years. They know his coaching style, but he knows a little about them too. It'll be a neat matchup to see the Cowboys and the Cajuns. We'll talk about the Cajuns in a little while. But first, let's take you up to Ruston for what happened on Saturday night. Open Louisiana Tech on the campus. You know, they're on the 9-week system. We didn't know what the crowd would be like there because the students, well, they're getting ready to start school, but you can see behind the shot there on the bench. They were ready to go as Frank Selfo brought his Lions up to Ruston for the first time since 2021. That game saw over 1,000 yards of total offense. This game did not. The Lions under pressure. Mickey Mason got sacked on Kyle Lowe. It's a loss of 7. But then for Louisiana Tech, Joshua Randall got the pressure on the sack. Take another look at this one, how fast he gets through the line. Scott, he just got left wide open.
Yeah, I think that was a busted play right there, free shot on the quarterback.
And Sonny Cumbie taking notes. Let's not run that play again. Later for Tech, Trey Kukich under pressure. Kind of heaves one up here, but he gets bailed out. Eli Finley with the grab and almost, after making a move, almost takes it into the end zone. However, the Lions defense would hold tight, and so it leads to a field goal. We played a half of football, and it's just 3-0 Louisiana Tech. Let's go to the third quarter. Amari Wiggins takes the reception here, little slingshot out to the right side. One little move there, but that was enough. Frees him up to get to the end zone. It's 22 yards on the touchdown, 10-0 Louisiana Tech. Clay Thevenin then on the left side walks this one in as Louisiana Tech gets great field position on a 7-play, 50-yard drive, and now the Bulldogs are starting to pull away. But hey, the Lions are battling inside the 20 when Jaden Henry takes a shot. Ball is loose, and Cam Franklin sees nothing but running room. 80 yards later, he's escorted into the end zone by his teammates. Ruston gets set off to a celebration. A good effort by the Lions. A little too much Bulldogs in the second half as Tech wins it 24-0. Louisiana Tech won the second half 21-0. As I mentioned, just 3 points between these two teams after they had 1,000 yards 4 years ago when they met in Ruston. Next up for the Lions, they stay on the road. They'll go to Murray State next week, and that's a 4 o'clock kick. And as we mentioned earlier, the next game for Louisiana Tech, they'll make the 4-hour drive down from Ruston to Baton Rouge. They will be the opponent for LSU's home opener in Tiger Stadium, and that will be a 6:30 kick. Post-game reactions from Ruston after the Bulldogs get the win.
I think we were really close on a lot of plays. I think there was just some stuff where we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and luckily we got a defense and guys like Jamal on the defensive side that, I mean, it's hard to lose games when you shut the opponent out. So we played really complimentary football today. I'm super proud of the way the defense played. They really bailed us out in that first half and allowed us to kind of pick up momentum in that second half, and then we were able to put them away. We wore them down in the second half, so it's all thanks to the defense, man. They played their heart out.
Coach Selfo and I were speaking before the game, and first games are now even more than ever. Man, there's just so much unknown, and you think you know what guys are going to do, but you don't know. Some of them you've played with, some of them you haven't played in a game before. There's a lot of moving parts from a coaching staff standpoint, and so you don't know what you've got sometimes, and you feel pretty good about it. But until you get out under the lights and start playing and seeing live bullets, I think that's when you can really start seeing growth and maturation from one game to the next, and we'll see that during the course of this week, which we've got to clean up.
Here are the final numbers from that ball game. Pretty even in terms of total yards from what you saw between the Lions and the Bulldogs. And in fact, it's the Lions that had more yardage there with 273 yards and 50% of the third down conversions. But if you want to rewind this program about 4 minutes, remember what Scott just said about that percentage of turnovers and the percentage of winning from what he learned under Sean Payton? 3 turnovers for the Lions, none for the Bulldogs. Boom.
You're making the other team make mistakes, and you're just playing football. You didn't play the best football. You want to play better football, but if you just take care of the football and don't give cheap points to your opponent, you'll find a way to win a lot of football games.
They had almost 10 yards per reception in Southeastern. They just had the ball 5 minutes less because they gave it up too many times. And you heard Sonny Cumbie talking about that, Scott. Do you feel like this is the trend? And take out the Clemsons and the Texases and the LSUs because there's quarterbacks experience. But to Sonny Cumbie's point, for a lot of these schools, game 1, maybe game 2, is this the new norm where you're coming in saying, I got 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'm playing. I got 4 running backs. I don't know who's going because you don't even know who they are.
No, I think a lot of times people look at coaches and say, well, you're just trying to hide who the starter is. I truly believe you go, like I said, some guys are just practice guys, some guys are gamers. You don't know until the lights turn on. And I think with the way college football is now with the portal, some of these guys are showing up to campus late. There's not enough time to get timing and rhythm. You're going to see some of these quarterbacks, and yesterday, just on the national spotlight, people have talked about Klubnik and Nussmeier and Arch and already making fun of the 2026 draft class. It's game 1, guys. It takes time. It takes chemistry to develop, and these guys will be much better players in weeks 2 and 3 and 4.
And in this day and age of transfer portals and NIL and everything else, much like, say, for Tulane, a 4-headed quarterback monster, you had a guy on the roster that had some experience, but then you got a guy in from another major college with a lot more experience. He winds up getting the start, and he was a shining star down there. So you might have experience, but you might not fit in this system, or you might have a little less experience, but my system might be a perfect fit for you. Yeah. We just don't know.
You don't know, and you don't know until you see that guy, like I said, under lights and playing, and what he can do well in games, what he gives defenses fits with. And you may be on campus for 2, 3, 4 months, but you haven't been put in those situations. Now you're getting put in those actual situations, and now the coach can truly judge what your talents and abilities are.
Yeah, and I should remind you that the Lions will also make a trip to Baton Rouge. That'll be in a couple of weeks. They'll be down there towards the end of September to face LSU in Tiger Stadium as well. Louisiana Tech will be down in Baton Rouge next week. This weekend of football kicked off on Thursday night in Louisiana. We had 2 ball games. The first team to kick off was actually slated to be the second team, but because of bad weather, well, Monroe wound up kicking off a little later, 2 hours later than they were supposed to because of lightning delays up in Monroe. Year 2 for Brian Vincent as head coach for the Warhawks. Opening drive of the game, 2nd and 22 from their own 25. Here comes Braylon McReynolds. We heard from him on our preview show. The transfer from South Alabama wanted to make an impact, and he did on this one. Misdirection and takes it almost to the end zone. Look how close. 74 yards. If he goes 74 and a half, he's in. But he comes just short of the end zone. After all of that work, he takes a breather. Hunter Herring comes in. He goes over the top. 6 plays, 81 yards, 7-0. Warhawks, second quarter, same score. Aiden Armenta ends at quarterback, buys some time, finds Tyler Griffin. Great throw. Griffin between 3 defenders, and he's gone. Except, there's that yellow icon. The flag. Holding. Brings it back. Take the points off of the board. But later in the second, Armenta finds Jake Godfrey. Beautiful pass right sideline. 24 yards for the first down, and the Warhawks are moving. 3 plays later, on 4th and 2, let's go for it. Armenta rolls right. Rico Powers, 18 yards, and it leads to a field goal. The Warhawks lead 10-0 at the break. Opening drive of the second half. On 2nd and 13, Armenta, the misdirection. He throws back to McReynolds. He makes his way into the end zone. 10 plays, 75 yards in just over 5 minutes. And the Warhawks would add to it, and they get the win over St. Francis. St. Francis is about to move down to NAIA. Neat little fact here. They made their first plane ride for a road game in 10 years. Good for them for coming down, putting up a fight, but it's the Warhawks that get the win. Braylon McReynolds, what a debut in a Warhawk uniform. 33 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. You see St. Francis only 81 rushing yards, while ULM dominated with 311. Stepping up a notch a little bit, ULM is going to Titletown in Tuscaloosa next weekend to take on Alabama, who will be dropping from number 8 after that loss to Florida State. Coach, were you pleased after this season opening win?
I just don't think we executed well offensively at all early. We've had lightning delays here. We had 4 the first 3 days of camp. So we can sit here, and we're not going to make excuses, and that's what I told them in the locker room. There are no excuses. The days of excuses are gone, and we've just got to put our head down and we've got to go to work. We've got to go to work and we've got to get better. We get 2 extra points blocked. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and it should not happen, and we've got to get better at that. So we'll work hard to clean up a lot of our things. I think this team has a chance to be a really good football team, and that's why we're so hard on ourselves, because we don't accept anything but the best. And that's our expectation, and we're going to continue to go down that path.
Love how his eyes got big at the end. He was trying to smile and say, we're going to be okay, but he wanted to get the point across, Scott. There's some things we need to clean up.
Yeah, we may have won, we may have shut out our first opponent, but there are a lot of things that'll get us beat. Don't you forget about the things we need to correct this week in practice.
And you see statistically, as you would expect, the Warhawks dominated in that ballgame. They started 5-1 last year. This year, 1-0, and they'll take on Alabama next week on the road in Tuscaloosa. The other game played Thursday night was just a little bit south of Monroe. It's at the Natchitoches, where Northwestern State and the Demons riding a losing streak since mid-2022, taking on the Braves from Alcorn State. Abram Johnson hit Ty Moore early in this ball game to make it 6-0 for the Demons. Later in the first, on 4th and 4, Alcorn around midfield, lining up for the punt. Whee! And the ball's way over his head and going the wrong direction for Alcorn. Guess who's there? Ty Moore. He just scored a touchdown. Now he picks up on the scoop and score and ties it again. It's 13-0 Northwestern State. They would then have a lightning delay mid-game by about an hour because of that weather from Monroe. Came down to Nicholls, but when they were back playing, look at Christian Williams on the concentration on this interception. Watch again. It goes off the defender, off his teammate's belly, pops up right into his hands. Great interception by Christian Williams to keep Alcorn out of the end zone. Later in the third quarter, Orlandis McLaren, well, he jumps the route, and that's the one mistake that Northwestern had, the one big mistake, because he has clear sailing. 72 yards for the interception and the score, and the Braves are now down just by 6, 13-7. It's now 13-10. It's getting a little interesting, but you want to talk about determination, Scott? Watch Kobe Burrell into the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 5, and he's got nothing. Or he's got 32 yards of determination. You'd love to see that from a program that's trying to find some confidence.
That's where the running back coach says, now you see why we do all those drills every day in practice? Keep the legs moving and good things happen.
Fullback Ryan Tyler punches it into the end zone early in the fourth quarter to give Northwestern State a cushion. Scott, your favorite formation.
There it is, victory formation.
Victory formation. They haven't done it in a while, and the students were ready to celebrate. Those who didn't go home because of the lightning and rain had reason to celebrate. Coaches jumping, ADs are hugging and crying, and rightfully so. Northwestern State gets the win and snaps that losing skid 20-10. Abram Johnston, the quarterback, 85 yards passing, 69 rushing yards. 7 different Demon receivers had at least one catch. Very well balanced for them as they now go on the road at Minnesota. But the focus is all about determination and getting the win.
I said to people the last week or so, I don't think I've ever seen a team and a campus and a city as in need of a win as this football team, this university, and Nicholls did. I think it just allows everybody to kind of take a sigh of relief and lets people know that this football program that this city and this campus loves so much is still alive and well, and we're going to be A-OK, and a new day's coming.
Yeah, it's awesome knowing that so many people are behind us for how long this program has been down, and that this many people still support us and still have our backs and will still come out and support us was unbelievable. And I think it's only going to grow now that we got that winless streak off our back all off season. Like, this is all you can think about. But I think this is going to open us up to play so much freely and better. Like, we're going to just play better now that we don't have that like winless streak weighing on our back.
1,022 days. Now it's 0. So I told the guys in the locker room after the game that when we woke up this morning, we had the longest losing streak in the country. Saturday night, when all the games are over with, we'll have a longer winning streak than half the teams in the country. That's pretty cool to think about. So see if we can hold on to it.
Well, they should be excited to have that winning streak here on this Sunday after all of the action. 270 total yards. See a couple of turnovers, both teams having their share of turnovers. But in the end, Scott, it's more about the numbers that you see on the screen for me. 1,022 days. You and I and everybody watching, we've done a lot of things in 1,022 days. You know what they've never done? Win. Once. After all of the practices, all of the workouts, fall camp, the entire season, spring drills, they hadn't won. So to see them put it together and get the win, you can see why he was so emotional and what it means to that community there in Nicholls.
Certainly. I think it's a testament to the kids who have been there through all this. I think it's a testament to the coaches who have been there. And I think it's a testament to the coaches and the players who have come since then, they knowing what they've gone through. So, when you see those plays, you see the running back driving his legs, running down the sideline, you saw the interception in the end zone, and those things don't happen unless you believe. You don't play like that and hustle and finish every play unless you believe. So when you see that type of effort, you want good things to happen.
Yeah, remember what Coach said. He was proud of the kids. He didn't bring in kids who were running from something. They were running to something, and that was Northwestern because they believed they could help turn it around. 82% of his roster is Louisiana kids. Great job on the win. Congratulations to the Demons. See if they can keep it going, like Coach said. Let's focus on a game now that took place in Lafayette, the brand new $65 million Our Lady of Lourdes Stadium on the campus of the Raging Cajuns there at Louisiana. Beautiful new stadium, totally renovated press box. They played in front of a half stadium last year because of the renovations. Ready to debut it against Rice. It's 3-0 Cajuns in the second quarter. Quentin Jackson scores from 1 yard out. Scott, look at the hole on the left side.
Yeah, that's concerning. You don't want to be able to drive through a car through the line on the 1 yard line.
Walker Howard making his debut. Remember, full circle. St. Thomas More to LSU to Ole Miss, back to Lafayette, and he's playing for the Cajuns. He'd like this one back. He tried to heave one up and take a chance, but it came up well short. Jack Kane got the interception here. And then some Rice misdirection. Scott, this is what we were talking about with their offense and the triple option. There's people running all over the place. You got 2 to the right, 3 to the left, somebody coming on the end, and you know what it leads to is a touchdown.
These type of offenses are all over in college football because they put defenders, discipline, and their eyes to the test every single play. You have to be disciplined. You have to, if that's your guy, you have to go with him. Let your teammate do his job, you do yours.
That was one of the things they were talking about with Rice's new head coach and his history of running so many multiple formations. The Cajuns get on the board right before the half with a 51-yard field goal from Tony Sterner, and it's 14-6. Now, near the end of the third quarter, watch what Walker Howard can do with his legs. One turn and he's in. 25 yards on the touchdown. It's 14-12, and the Cajun light show is on, and they're going to go for 2. But Howard rolling to the right, quick pass, overthrown, and he can't convert. So it stays 14-12, and unfortunately for the Cajuns, it would stay 14-12. They couldn't get any closer. Howard in his debut, 10 of 22 for 88 yards and a pick, did have 9 rushes and a touchdown. The time of possession, though, Scott, and it has to speak to the ground game and Rice's scheme, 36 minutes for the Owls.
Yeah, we saw that motioning and eye candy, we call it, but they are a running football team, and they try to keep their offense on the field, stay ahead of the chains, get into third and manageable, and that's where you have to get negative plays. You have to get those offenses off rhythm. You have to get them into third and long, and they just didn't do that enough yesterday.
Here's what head coach Michael Decimo had to say after the Cajuns' opening loss to Rice.
It's kind of the nightmare offensively that you were hoping to avoid a little bit. Turned it over, self-inflicted penalties. Second half, couldn't get good field position to start, started backed up. Really felt like we kind of killed ourselves on a lot of these drives. And, it was just one of those deals, just everything was just a little off. Everything was a little out of reach, a little off the mark, a little too far. I knew our team was going to be tested at some point. I knew at some point we were going to have to find out what kind of team we have and the resolve that we've got and the grit on this team. But, I didn't think it was going to be week 1, but here we are. So, told the team today, look, this is going to define our season one way or the other. We're either going to come together, we're going to, look at this tape, we're going to approach it head on and find a way to get better, or we're going to let it break us a little bit.
Look, it's not just speak. You heard what he just said there. Everything was just a little bit off. It goes back to reiterate that we're not just repeating because it's easy to say. It's true. Yeah. Everything's a little bit off. Brand new quarterback, Shelton Sampson, brand new wide receiver, used to be at LSU. New players in. They're trying things out, but they're trying it under fire, right? Yeah. You're under the lights now. Everybody's watching to try to see how the pieces fit together.
Yeah, I think it's just the dynamic of college football, and we don't want to bang the drum too much, but when you have a lot of transfer portals, and that's the way college football is, these are how teams are building their teams, it takes a while. It takes a while to learn what a coach wants in technique, what he wants, how he wants me to make this play, whether it's in the run game, how you're going to blitz off the edge. So you have to learn what the coaches want out of you technique-wise. So these players are going to get better. A lot of people are overreacting after 1 week. Everybody's going to get better with time on task, and through actual game repetitions.
The brightest spotlight in Lafayette on Saturday night was certainly on number 4, the quarterback, and that's Walker Howard. As we mentioned, he was a standout Cougar at St. Thomas More, just about, 10 minutes from campus there at Louisiana. Then he came to LSU, couldn't fit because there were some big names and Heisman Trophy winners. Tried to go over to Ole Miss. Then he decided to come back home. A lot of pressure there. Nice early pass there. Did you see him? He hit Sampson on the left-hand side. But then he had those he'd like to get back. Scott, this is one of them. A little bit of pressure, trying to stay alive. Just heaves this one up, comes up about 2 yards short with the interception. So we saw some mistakes. We saw some nice passes. And we saw what he could do with his legs. He's got that 25-yard run for the touchdown, which actually brought them within 2 points of this ball game. But initially, your thoughts on what you saw from Walker Howard?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think for Walker, he's in a tough situation. It's always tough. You go home, there's a lot of hype. Anytime you're going from playing to LSU and Ole Miss, and people have huge expectations for you. So he's a great player. He's been a really good player. He's been a highly recruited player. Him and Shelton Sampson will get that dynamic duo going at some point. They were both together at LSU. Shelton had 4 catches for 59 yards. So I think at some point they will get that timing and rhythm down. But I think, again, just like we talked about Retzlaff with Tulane, the legs were part of his game that people didn't know that he had yesterday.
Absolutely. You see the total yards and look at the rushing yards for Rice. 206 of the 251 total yards. Again, it goes to that scheme that Rice likes to use. And when it came time to the red zone, well, Cajuns never got in there. Rice was 2 for 3, and then we talked about it earlier. The time of possession. 36 minutes for Rice as they dominated possession. They don't dominate the game, but they got the win by 2. And now Louisiana will look to get its first win of the season next weekend. Well, they'll stay at home and welcome Matt Viator and the Cowboys from McNeese. We turn our attention now to the SWAC and the Southern Jaguars, who lost in Week 1. They played Week 0, and they lost in the SWAC MEAC Challenge to North Carolina Central. A very disappointing second half where the Jaguars lost a lot of momentum and wound up losing by 17 points. This week, they stayed on the road for their second game. It's a SWAC game that doesn't count as a conference game because of their alignment, but they were at Inabena, Mississippi to take on the Devils from Mississippi Valley. However, when we start the game, it was a scary moment for their starting quarterback for the Jaguars, as this game was delayed near 15 minutes because of the play coming up right here, where Jalen Woods is going to take the snap, tucks it and keeps it, goes left side, but as he's going into his slide, he takes a vicious shot to the head. Terrence Graves was furious. No flag is thrown, no ejection, but the quarterback taken away in an ambulance. He gave thumbs up as he was being taken off the field, and we have a very good update for him in just a moment. But as the game went on, Cameron McCoy came back in at quarterback. He had the experience from 1 week ago. 3rd and 8 from the 10. He keeps it and scores. 8 plays, 57 yards, and Southern is up 10-3. Under 3 to play in the first half, Joshua Brown hits Caleb Brownlow, and he does the rest. Look at him dancing side to side, up the middle, 53 yards for the touchdown, and the Delta Devils are up 13-10. But there's still time to play, and under a minute to go, McCoy hits Darren Morris. Look at the touch on this pass, right over the shoulder, couldn't place it any better, gets the pass, 11 plays, 80 yards, in a minute 52, and the Jags are up 17-13. Early third quarter. There's that turnover bug again. Scott's been telling you all the differences there. Ball goes 18 yards the other direction. Southern jumps on it. Great field possession. Trey Holly, the former LSU Tiger, gets in. Southern's got some breathing room. It's 24-13. But they couldn't put him away. Mid-third quarter, Mike Franklin up the middle. Coughs it up. Jamari Stokes going the other direction. He's all alone. Touchdown. It's 24-22. They're going to go for the tie right here. 5:50 to go in the third quarter. But they come up short. So Southern still has the lead. Now, fast forward to the fourth quarter, 27-22. Jason Gabriel up the middle, and he finds end zone. Touchdown for the Jags, 34-22. A little more comfort. Or is it? 2 minutes to go. Valley's not done yet. Josh Brown hits Christian White for the 21-yard touchdown, but the Jags do hold on after that. What a challenge, what a battle. Southern gets the win, 34-29. Look again, dominating the rushing game. 212 yards for the Jags as they had the ball for almost 33.5 minutes, and they will host Alabama State next weekend at 6 o'clock on the Bluff. Congratulations to the Jags getting their first win of the season. Now, we talked about that vicious hit, and you hate to see that anytime Scotty's going into a slide, took a helmet right under the chin, bounces off the ground, but Southern University has released a statement, and it's very good news for him. You can see it in its entirety on your screen, but I can give you the Cliff Notes version of it for what it says, as the athletics director, Roman Banks, put this out. He thanked everybody for their love, their support, their concern. Jalen Woods did go to the hospital. He is confirmed to have everything test negative. He has range and motion, returning back to Baton Rouge. You know we won't see him on the field anytime soon after that shot, Scott, because I know as a player, you've seen it before. You hate to see it. You're worried about him. But it was relieving when we heard he gave thumbs up going into the ambulance, and that's the best news besides Southern getting the win. So that might even be secondary. The fact that he has complete motion and everything came out negative.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you see that play. Those are scary plays that are still in the game. I think the game of football has been made as safe as you can possibly make it, and they continue to make progress with that. But as a defensive player, you're taught play to the whistle. Your defensive coaches are on you all the time. And so when a quarterback's going to slide, they just got caught in that mid-air range where nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew when to stop. And so it's just the great thing is this young man's okay. The thumbs up is a great sign, and you don't like to see these plays in the game of football.
Terrence Graves will have his press conference this week, but I'm sure, Scott, the two things he will focus on for the team. Your disappointing loss against North Carolina Central 1 week ago, he said they were humbled the second half. The fact that they rebounded from that, stayed on the road, then in game you lose your quarterback, and then to rebound from that. The ability to refocus away from home, all the challenges, and get a win, good sign for the team.
Absolutely. Every head coach wants to know, they know what type of team they have athletically, what they have in their athletic skills. They don't know what a team is like when they face adversity. Every coach wants to know, what's my team going to do when the bad things happen? Are they going to be able to dig themselves out of it? So this is a great sign that your team's able to handle adversity this early in the season, leads to good things later in the season.
Another SWAC team in action in North Louisiana on Saturday night. This one just west from home as Grambling traveled over to Shreveport. Independence Stadium, they were taking on Langston. Remember, we heard from Mickey Joseph. There he is, the head coach, talked about the emotion of this ball game. He coached at Langston. He said, hey, they gave me my opportunity. Well, defensively, Grambling was getting it done early. Warren Robinson with a huge hit in the backfield has Langston pinned against the end zone, and that gives Grambling great field position. And Xavion Tizet with the beautiful pass to Tyson George. 55 yards as he outruns everybody to the end zone. 14-0 Grambling. Then Langston has the ball back, and quarterback Cade Barrett. He's going to roll left. He's not going to like this one. He finds Terrell Ray. Problem is, he's wearing a Grambling uniform. 27 yards on the return as he comes back near side. Watch the stretch, though. He's trying to get to the end zone. Oh, no. He lost it. So close to getting a score, but at the last second, the reach from 2.5 yards out, he loses the ball. Grambling loses that momentum, but not for the game. The Tigers rolled on and got the win. 55-7 in this ball game against Langston. 25 first downs to just 6, and defensively, they held negative rushing yards, minus 32. 6 first downs and minus 32 rushing yards.
I was just going to say, we've talked a lot about a lot of great run defense on the show so far. Let's give the award to Grambling for run defense. Negative 32 yards is very impressive. Offensively, Grambling's offense being balanced. Coach Mickey Joseph wanted to be balanced. 247 and 219 offensively. That'll help your defense as well.
Now remember what he said. I want to run. Last year he was leaning too much on the pass. He wants to focus on the run. And by the way, if you just saw there at the bottom of the screen, you're going to go up to the Horseshoe next week for Grambling. I guess Ohio State, who just got the big win against Texas. Just come back healthy.
Enjoy
please.
The experience.
Absolutely.
You look at those games, and sometimes you look at it from the player perspective where you want to win everything. That's just the way you're trained. You're in that combat mode. But don't forget to enjoy the moment.
Sure.
You get an opportunity to go play in the Horseshoe and just take it all in and soak it in. That would be my advice to the team this week.
Yeah, fair enough. It should be an interesting experience. That's a 2:30 kick next week up there at the Shoe. All right, Nicholls, after the big win, we focused on them. Remember, they played week 0, kicked off college football for the entire country with a dynamic win over UIW in conference. They were over in Troy on Saturday, stepping up a little bit, going up into the Sun Belt Conference. There's Tommy Wright-Backey. Enjoyed talking to him this week and on yesterday's game notes with his interview, and feeling confident, and why not, with the way they played. Well, watch this on this Troy punt. Solo Lewis, he's running solo. Left side, down inside the 50 to the 40. Great field position for the Colonels off of that punt return. It would lead to a Gabe Showalter field goal, and the Colonels on the road take the early lead in the second after a scoreless first quarter. It's 3-0. After Nicholls' defense stopped Troy on 4th down, Mikael Brock, he scores from 3 yards out. 10-0 Nicholls. Scott, watch the speed as he comes end around. The quick handoff, and he's gone.
Speed kills in the game of football. If you don't set edges, we didn't see anybody set edges in a lot of games yesterday. You got to contain the football, or things like that happen.
Great call there for Nicholls and get the score. But with a minute to go, it's Troy finding the end zone. Goose Crowder to Roman Mothershed. 27 yards of the touchdown. It's 10-7 Nicholls at the break. Third quarter, opening drive for the Colonels. Deuce Hogan hits Brock, and watch him scoot. You saw him scoot on the end around. There he goes on this play. 58 yards for the touchdown. It's 7 Colonels on the road. Now 17-10. Crowder, he keeps this one for 16 yards, and we're tied at 17. And Scott, it just started to wear on him a little bit. The size, being on the road, this is where the Colonels started to see the little decline, going backwards, if you will, after this. Because after the Colonels kick a field goal up 2017, Crowder to Trey Taylor, 28 yards. It's Troy's first lead of the game. Scott, here's how fast things can change. To Nicholls. Deuce Hogan gets picked. Interception.
Turnovers. Changes momentum in the football game. Gives the other sideline a lot of energy.
And you know how? Next play. After the interception, this happens. Tay Meadows needs 9 seconds to go 47 yards. And after getting their first lead of the game 3 minutes prior, they now have a dominating lead. Troy would add to it. But look, nothing wrong with Nicholls. Great effort on the road against a bigger team. They ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, and here we are again with that rushing stat. 65 yards rushing to 272 for Troy, who won the second half 31-10. Next up for Nicholls, they'll be back home. They'll host West Georgia. That's a 6 o'clock kick down in Thibodaux. To your point, you just said it a moment ago talking about Grambling. Everybody wants to go in and win a game. There's nothing wrong with the effort. For 3 quarters, Nicholls was on top on the road at Troy and playing well. But at some point, if you're a bigger team, a stronger team, maybe a deeper team, it starts to wear on you. And as we mentioned, that interception, as soon as Troy got the lead, if you could hold that possession and get it back, it's a different game. Yeah. Interception, next play, 47 yards. Now you're down by, now you're down by 10 or 11. Oh, now we're in trouble.
Absolutely. Momentum is real. And momentum is real, especially in high school and college football. And I think the one thing you have to try to get your team to understand is, for us, we always used to call those watch this situations. Let's go out and kill the buzz in the air. Let's go kill the buzz in the air. This momentum that everybody thinks they have, let's go make a play and get the ball right back. And I think you're right. I think Nicholls is a really good football team. They just kind of wore down against a bigger Troy team in the line of scrimmage, giving up 6.3 yards per carry in the running game. It's hard to win a lot of football games. But I think this Nicholls team, they still have a bright future. They have a chance to have a really good year. And they have a chance to be one of the best defenses in their conference. So I think it's more about the opponent they played than about them.
Look, it was just a couple of years ago they won the South End Conference. That win against UIW, as you hear some people say that, sometimes you don't win it, some people lose it. They won that game against UIW, who won the conference a year ago and was picked to win it again. They battled in this one and led for 3 quarters. So to your point, I think they're in fine shape, especially when they get back to the South End. But to talk about Troy and its talent, when they got things going, 416 total yards, but 272 on the ground to the 65 yards rushing for Nicholls, just not able to control it. And there's those third down conversions. 9 of 15 is outstanding on any level. Third down for Troy, just 4 of 11 for the Curls.
And if you look at the correlation, third down conversions are good because you're able to run the football. When you're able to run the football, that means you're getting in a 3rd and short. 3rd and 4 and less, you're going to convert a lot of third downs. When you don't have good third down conversions, usually means you're not running the football and you're in 3rd and 10 plus. Now the defense is teeing off on you.
Yep, they start to get themselves ready to go indeed. So it was a full, fun weekend of week 1 for college football. Let's take a look at games we're looking ahead to for next weekend. We told you about some of them, and the in-state rival we'll see with Louisiana Tech making its way down to Baton Rouge as they will take on LSU next Saturday night. Again, that's a 6:30 kick. But some of the other games we will keep our eye on, with Northwestern State on the road at Minnesota, the first of 2 back-to-back on the road. We talked about Grambling already going up to the Shoe. Alabama State will be at Southern, where they have their first home game of the season on the Bluff. Monroe to Titletown for an Alabama team that's wavering a little bit after the big loss, and then McNeese and Louisiana, the 1 hour apart I-10 rivalry there between Lake Charles and in Lafayette. So we're off and running, some good games to look forward to and get ready for.
Some exciting games to preview. Can't wait for next week already. Give these guys some more shine and some more due credit, because there's a lot of really good football in the state of Louisiana, and it's fun to cover.
It is, and we're going to have fun doing it. And we hope to see you next Saturday when we kick it off for Game Notes, Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Until then, for Scott Shanley, I'm Victor Howell. Thanks for joining us on LPB.
Major production funding for Game Notes is provided by Southern University and A&M College and Hargrove Engineers and Constructors, with additional support from Lafayette Travel, the LSU Alumni Association, and the Cook Hotel and Conference Center at LSU, Louisiana Tech University, Natchitoches Regional Medical Center, Northwestern State University, Red Stick Sports, the U.S. Army Baton Rouge Recruiting Battalion, the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you.